We often imagine the medieval castle as a place of romance, a world of colorful banners, glowing hearths, noble feasts, and storybook royalty. In our minds, it feels warm, grand, even magical. But if you were to open your eyes inside a real castle in the year 1250, the illusion would shatter almost instantly. Survival, not comfort, was the purpose of these stone giants. Forget electricity, forget plumbing, forget warmth. Here, danger lived in the walls, in the shadows, and even in the air you breathed. Before sunrise, the cold would wake you, not gently, but brutally. The temperature inside the castle hovered barely above freezing. Stone did not hold heat, it leached it from your body. Windows had no glass, only rough wooden shutters that rattled and groaned as icy wind forced its way through every crack. Heavy furs and layered wool were the only defense. Yet even those felt useless against the damp chill soaked into the walls. Then came the smell. It hit with a thickness that felt almost visible. Wet wool, animal dung, unwashed bodies, rotten straw, and decades of trapped fireplace smoke embedded deep into the stone. Fresh air was rare. Ventilation was primitive. Every breath tasted of soot and labor. This was not a palace. It was a fortress machine, built for endurance, waking each day to prepare for survival. Long before any lord stirred, the castle was already alive. The courtyard erupted into motion as an invisible workforce began its endless cycle. Servants, laborers, and craftsmen transformed the open space into something closer to an industrial yard than a noble residence. Iron rang against iron as blacksmiths hammered horseshoes and weapon fittings. Carpenters repaired wagons, shields, and gates weakened by weather or war. Stable hands moved among rows of war horses, 50 or more, brushing coats, cleaning hooves, checking tack. Orders cut through the noise. More straw for the farrier. Secure that bridle. Ready the master's mount.
Ready the mounts!
Task had urgency because every task supported defense. Horses were not symbols of prestige. They were engines of war. Among all workers, none labored harder than the water carriers. There was no plumbing, no pipes, no pumps. Every drop of water, for cooking, washing, brewing, cleaning, came from the deep well. Heavy buckets were hauled up by hand, again and again, hour after hour. Should the bucket stop moving, the castle would grind to dysfunction before midday. Water was muscle-powered infrastructure. At the operational heart of the castle stood the kitchen, often separated from the main structure by a stone walkway. This design was deliberate. Fire was one of the greatest threats to any fortress. If the kitchen burned, the castle needed to survive the flames. Inside, the kitchen resembled an industrial slaughterhouse more than a culinary space. Fireplaces were enormous, cavernous openings capable of roasting whole oxen on iron spits. Flames roared day and night. The heat was suffocating, a violent contrast to the freezing corridors elsewhere. Cooking here was not artistry. It was mass production. Meals were designed to fuel hundreds. Salted meats, thick pottage stews, and coarse black bread were prepared in staggering quantities. Feeding 500 people before noon required relentless coordination. Barrels of ale were rolled, trenchers stacked, spits turned endlessly over open flame. By midday, life gravitated toward the Great Hall, the symbolic and functional core of castle society. At first glance, it appeared grand, long tables, banners, carved chairs. But every decorative element served a survival purpose. Tapestries draped along the stone walls were not merely art. They were insulation. trapping thin layers of warmer air to fight the ever-present cold radiating from granite. The floors were layered with rushes, dried grasses mixed with herbs. They softened footsteps and insulated feet from the freezing stone, but they also concealed filth, dropped bones, spilled ale, scraps gnawed by dogs. Light was scarce. Windows were narrow slits, defensive by design. Even at noon, the hall remained dim, lit by candles in the central hearth. The air smelled of beeswax, burning animal fat, and lingering smoke that hovered below the rafters. Darkness always felt close, one extinguished flame away. Yet even this discomfort paled beside the castle's sanitation reality. Waste disposal relied on gravity and grim practicality. The garderobe, the castle toilet, was a stone seat built into the outer wall. Human waste dropped down vertical shafts into cesspits or directly into the moat below, leaving dark stains visible on exterior stone. Strangely, these foul shafts had a secondary use. Expensive garments were sometimes hung inside them. The ammonia fumes rising from accumulated urine killed fleas and moths embedded in the fabric. It was pest control through stench, hygiene shaped by necessity. Bathing was rare. A single hot bath required hauling dozens of water buckets and heating them over fire. The labor alone made frequent washing impractical. Most people lived perpetually coated in smoke, sweat, and grime. Walking the corridors, you would notice something unsettling. The architecture itself felt hostile. That was intentional. Castles were engineered as defensive weapons. Staircases spiraled tightly to the right. This design disadvantaged attackers climbing upward, forcing them to fight left-handed, while defenders above could swing freely with their right arms. Every step favored the castle's protectors. Murder holes punctured ceilings above gateways, not for light, but for killing. Through them, defenders poured boiling water, hot sand, stones, or oil onto intruders who breached the entrance. Arrow slits allowed defenders to fire outward while remaining nearly impossible targets from outside. Every stone had tactical purpose. Afternoon activity focused on siege readiness, the castle's primary reason for existence. Peace was never trusted. War was expected. In armories, fletchers worked constantly crafting arrows by the thousands. Bowstrings were waxed, spearheads sharpened, armor repaired. Stockpiles had to remain full at all times.